Welcome to the Coopersmith Career Consulting Study Guide Series for English Composition 1. And now we're here for our second essay, which is going to be an informative essay. The assignment is asking you to pick a current issue that has people confused or has by its nature complicated issues. Well, in this world, everything is complicated and people are confused about all sorts of issues. So that really is a very subjective type of sentence. It really depends on your approach and how you're going to present the issue that makes you the most comfortable, and we're going to allow you to do that. But first I want to explain to you what the concept of an informative essay is. And I want you to think about the word informative as being the word information. And what is it that you're telling somebody when you give over information? It's more objective. Think of it as a news article versus an editorial. Now there's always going to be a fine line between, because in many news stories, and there was one the other day that I was reading online about an Israeli soldier had shot a Palestinian. And the news article said that something to the effect that an Israeli soldier had shot a Palestinian for allegedly, throwing rocks or doing something wrong. But when it came to and here's the nuance of the word, supposedly it was an objective news story. But when it came to reading it, there was this nuance and that lost its objectivity when one side had the word allegedly in it and the other side didn't have the word allegedly. So in this case, we're saying there's always going to be thrown in your opinion. It's not going to be just straight facts. There is going to be some sort of nuance around it based on where you bring yourself into the essay. But generally speaking, it really is about informing the reader, the audience, about a subject and staying on focus as to what the subject is. Inside this, you're going to be having an introduction. You're going to be using cited material from outside sources to help you explain your topic. And in this case, you just need to have one outside source. It's probably easier to get more because that helps write the essay. And I do recommend that you do that. Conclusion. Transitions that move the paper forward and link ideas clearly. In other words, again, when writing any essay, when any sort of paper or doing any sort of assignment, your paragraphs need to flow. The reader, the audience, people don't like to think. If you confuse them along the way, they have to stop and say, I don't know, this seems like it's lost focus, then you're in trouble. Just make sure that when you read it over and get somebody else to read over your work, there should be a general flow to it so that the audience, because nobody likes to work, it's like telling a story, needs to go from point to point to point, moving along. Informative essay, some topic ideas. You may not need, but choose off this list. And here's just a list you can stop. And here's just some suggestions. You don't have to use any of them, but you can stop and have some ideas if you're looking for some. How to write to inform. We're referring to pages 190 to 198 in the textbook for this assignment. And I'm using the Writing, a Guide for College and Beyond, 2nd edition. I got this for $3.99 shipping and handling, and I think I paid a penny for it on Amazon used. You don't need the most up-to-date textbook, and it's in the syllabus which textbook to use, but this is by Lester Fagley. It's a very good book. For $4, you can just go on Amazon, have it delivered to you, and you can use it. Refer also to Owl Purdue, and it's a great source of information, especially when you're doing MLA formatting. And then there's Best Essay Help for essay topics and informative essay topics, and we took information from there. That's where we got our listing of topics from. What is an informative essay? The informative essay is to have you investigate an idea, use credible sources, Example, Pros and Cons of School Uniforms, Debating the Effectiveness of Uniforms by Melissa Kelly. All I did was Google, and I found this online. Anything could be researched. There are experts in all fields, people who write about all different sorts of topics. So whether you're talking about, challah baking or window repair or something even more intellectual than that, it doesn't really make a difference. Global warming, it's always possible to find people who are experts. Gather your information. The more information that you have at your disposal, the better your essay is going to be. And that's really important. Don't scrimp and don't try to save time on the gather the information, because you can only write about that which you know. And if you don't know about it now, if you gather the information, well, now you know. That's why this point here of gathering the information is extremely important, so that you have all this information and you say, okay, from all of this, I'm going to glean out and put this here and put this here, take this idea, and that's the way your essay will write. Interpret that information. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be it's going to be facts, and you're going to be balancing the facts with your interpretation. Convey to the audience in a clear and concise manner. Don't ramble. I tend to ramble when I talk, and that's okay. But when I write, I'm very clear about cutting it out, and that's what you want to do. You want to cut out a lot. Choosing your topic. There are a lot of ideas for topics that you can use for this assignment. Write about anything you like, including hobbies. Write about a topic that interests you, because very often the audience, your personality is going to come through, and your passion for your topic is going to come through. If you're not going to pick a topic that you like or that you have an interest in, you might not, it's not going to be as good as if you're writing about something that you enjoy. You are being asked to use at least one outside source. I would use more. Well, that should not be difficult, because almost everything can be researched. And then here if you want to just stop and pause, you can just read this and so on. The assignment says pick a current issue. We talked about this before, that anything can be researched, and that should not be a problem. Writing an informative essay is all about your sharing of knowledge with the readers, and that again goes back to the concept of information. Knowledge is information. Knowledge is a subject. Knowledge is factual. It's not about emotion. Get rid of all the fluff words. Stick to the subject, stick to the topic, and stick to clear knowledge and inform. Think again, information. That's what you're looking for. Here are some topic ideas. You can pause along the way and look them over to get some ideas. And here are some more topic ideas. You may pause, and then we'll continue. Narrow your topic. Limit your topic to something that can be covered in 500 words. When you pick a topic, you could pick any topic. It's just a matter of then narrowing it down to something specific that can be done in a 5-paragraph essay. For example, nutrition. Inadequate thesis. There are many reasons why people should be healthy. Very, very broad-based. Adequate thesis. Elementary age students need to eat a healthy breakfast in order to succeed in school. From there, you would write an essay based just on the information to that specific topic. Brainstorm about your topic, and then narrow down to a specific area. Think of it like a triangle, where you start on the top of the triangle, very philosophical, your topic is there, and it's very broad-based. And then as you brainstorm, it's going to get more narrow and more narrow and more narrow till you have the topic that you're going to be writing about. Broad topic examples, school uniforms. Narrow topic examples. To inform the audience where the best buys for school uniforms are, to tell them where the best buys are. To inform the audience why students don't want to wear uniforms. to inform the audience how and why a specific elementary school instituted school uniforms, to inform the audience of the benefits of school uniforms in general. Notice that if you look at the approach from each of these examples here in terms of school uniforms, you are informing your audience about a specific area concerning school uniforms, but each one is taken from a very, very different perspective. If you're going to inform the audience where the best buys for school uniforms, you're talking about, which stores to go to. Do I go to a specialty shop? Do I go to Children's Place? And then you can write a whole essay just based on that information. And by the way, all these examples here, you could do research on the web, and they have articles written about them that you can use as to cite your sources. To inform the audience why students don't want to wear uniforms. Well, there would be varied reasons why students, the parents want it and the school administration wants it, but you're taking it from the perspective of what does the student think? What is their relationship with the idea of wearing uniforms? To inform the audience how and why a specific elementary school instituted a school uniform, you can do an interview. You can go to a school that now has school uniforms and interview the principal or interview the people that made the decision on the board of directors and say to them, can you please tell me, and you do a whole question and interview and you find out why, and that's your source, and then you're informing the public about what involved in their decision-making process. To inform the audience of the benefits of school uniforms in general, you could take it as a general topic, and then you're probably thinking, well, didn't you say that I shouldn't stay too broad-based, and wouldn't the benefits of school uniforms in general be way too broad? And the answer is that it's not that broad, because you're telling about specifically, and here's the word benefits is what narrows it down, because you're only talking about the benefits of school uniforms in general, not talking about school uniforms in general. That would be too broad. But here I'm talking about specifically only the benefits, and that's what makes it a narrow topic. Explaining gathered information. Break down your topic into desirable and describable steps, events, or parts. Think of your essay as telling a story that must have a flow from paragraph to paragraph. Some issues are complicated and don't end with a clear answer or problem solved. That is acceptable as long as the issues are clearly stated and well defined. Your essay is focused and clear to the audience. Well, what does this all mean? You have all this information now. You went on the web. You now have pieces of paper. I can see you're sitting at your dining room table, and you've got pieces of paper, you've got your computer on, and you've got all these notes, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what do I do? How do I now gather this all into my my first paragraph, my second paragraph, my topic sentence? You're all confused. Don't panic. Think of your essay as telling a story. Put it into parts. Make sure that all the information that you've gathered has to do with your specific topic, that it all relates back to your thesis. So that if you're talking about the benefits of school uniforms, don't tell me that Children's Place is the place to go buy school uniforms. Keep your information organized and make sure when you look at that sentence, does it relate to your thesis? Are you staying on topic? If you do that, you're going in the right direction. What you want to do is have your essay flow. Remember that it's about your audience reading it. Again, I'm going to tell you this over and over again. They don't want to think. People don't want to think. They want to have a clear flow from one subject to the next. And that's what you're looking for. Job of the writer. The writer needs to convey a specific message to the audience. The language used must be physical words and not fluff words. Avoid words that are overused and cliche. Example, exhilarating. And I know I always use this, and you're going to find in every session that we do, I'm going to use that example of exhilarating, because I see it so often when the grader shares with me, and because I like to oversee to see what the students are doing, and I see this word exhilarating, and I'm thinking to myself, you still are telling me nothing. It was an exhilarating experience. Yes, it was an exhilarating experience. It was an exhilarating experience. Why? The why has to always be there. So that you can use fluff words, you can use emotional words if it's attached to the why in a physical description. Again, you must paint a picture in the mind of the audience that they understand exactly what you're saying, and they understand it clearly. The writer must write to inform, remain objective. The writer in an informative essay has to step back and not get overly emotionally involved. This is not an opinion paper. This is an informative paper. This is so what you're doing is you're informing about the research you're done. You're telling the audience that this is what this is, and it could be from the other side that it's an emotional, or if they've got an agenda, that's okay. But that's not you, the writer. That's what you're writing about. So that in terms of you being think of it as the narrator within the story, the narrator must remain objective. Show no bias to either way. This adds validity and credibility to the author. The job of an informative person, of somebody who gives over information, is that they must be trusted by the audience. Paragraph content. Use examples and details. Examples and details are important because it's what separates you from the fluff of just ideas that don't create a picture. Examples create a picture, details create a picture in the mind of the audience. Very important. They're the why. Try to find something new and refreshing to your topic. There are certain topics that are cliche. Let's go back to school uniforms. A cliche aspect of school uniforms would be that school uniforms are good because it saves the parents money. Well, everybody kind of knows that it saves the money over in the long run. Try to come up with a different spin on it that would excite the reader to what you're saying. Read it out loud to yourself to ensure that there is a flow. Read your essay over to yourself. If it makes sense, then use it. If you cannot catch your breath when you read a paragraph because you don't have periods in there and it's one long run-on sentence, and as you're reading you're just going on and on and on and on, then stop and say, maybe I need a period in there. Revise your draft accordingly. Revise, revise, revise. I suggest you don't hand in your first paper. I suggest you don't do it at lunch. I suggest you don't do it on the way to work. This is important. It's part of your GPA, and these are really, really important skills for you to learn. So just take your time and review your draft accordingly. Use a topic sentence for each paragraph. The topic sentence is, just as a refresher, is the thesis statement of that paragraph. It lets the reader know, the audience know, what your paragraph is going to be about. And again, your topic sentence is also a way for you to match it up and see, does it match my thesis statement? And that's what gives it this continuous flow. The thesis statement sets up and lets your reader know what you're going to be talking about. The topic sentence lets you know what the paragraph is going to be about. If your topic sentence matches your thesis statement, you're going to be assured that your essay is going to flow and that you're going to be staying on topic along the whole way. The introduction. Have a clear introduction. Use an attention grabber to engage your audience to your topic. Examples: tell an anecdote, state an attention-grabbing fact, give a quotation. It's very important to engage the audience, the reader, within seconds. Don't forget, we have a very microwaved society. People want instant. They're used to electronics, they're used to tweeting, they're used to texting. Nobody has the patience for something that's boring and mundane the first minute out. It's kind of like when you think of yourself, because you're the writer now, but think of yourself as being the audience. When you go to websites and you click on and your finger's on the button on the mouse, and you're there and you can just click them right off. As soon as the person who made that website has exactly seconds to grab your attention. Seconds. And if they don't, you're clicking them off. It's the same thing when the tables are turned. If the person who's reading your essay looks at it and in the first few seconds in your introduction says, dud, everything else after that becomes damage control. So you want to take a little bit of extra time to really grab them and engage the audience in your topic and in who you are. Throw in a little personality. Don't be afraid, because the introduction is just that. It's an attention grabber. It's to get you involved and to say to the audience, sit and read what I have to say. I'm trying to communicate to you. Don't turn off. Transition smoothly into the topic. So now that you've made this really wonderful introduction, you still need to talk about your topic. What you will do then is slowly start to introduce the topic at hand by giving some background information, and then you're going to end with your thesis statement. And then again, this gives direction to the body paragraphs. The thesis statement may be 1 or 2 sentences, must clearly state your agenda without using the phrases such as, this is my agenda, this is my thesis statement, today I will be informing you about. We know all that, and that's why you wouldn't use those words. And sometimes what you can do is, if it helps you write it in on your first draft, because that would, and then just take it out, and that comes in with your revision. The introduction. Write an effective introduction. Get off to a fast start. Cut to the chase. Don't use empty sentences at the beginning. Don't use big generalizations at the beginning. Engage your audience. Sometimes students will tell stories at the beginning, and stories are wonderful, but make sure that they're not long, drawn-out stories that give such detail that in such a minute way that your audience is going, okay, no, I get it, no. So make sure that you write effectively, you get your point across, and you stay focused. Example. Here's an incorrect, this is taken from the book on page 249, and you can look along in the text. Incorrect. Because we all live such busy, hectic lives in these modern times, everyone wants to know why we must wait for hours and hours at the airport before boarding a flight. This is very general. It's very overused. We live hectic lives. Everybody knows all of that. Correct. It's a traveler's worst nightmare. The long line of people at the security gate, snaking back and forth across the waiting area. What exactly goes on in an airport screening area, and how does it help to keep us safe? This is more of an example that would engage the audience, because they can picture in their mind because we've all been there, and we've all called it a worst nightmare. So that really does cut to the chase, that it is a person's worst nightmare to wait on these long lines. The main body paragraphs. Again, need to flow from one idea to the next, all match the thesis, avoid the fluff words, give specific ideas and example. Do not rely on your opinion for the entire essay. Back up your opinion with credible sources. Remember that you need to stay objective, so that your opinion needs to be woven in, but really is about your credible sources. Stay physical in your descriptions, even if you're talking about an idea or an emotion, and that the audience needs to be able to paint a picture in their minds. I cannot stress that enough. Example: Jewish women are tired Friday night from all of the food preparations for the Sabbath. Better sentence: according to the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, Sabbath food must include 3 meals, at least one food being worn on Sabbath day, and the food must be more special than weekday. Therefore, many Orthodox Jewish women find themselves tired Friday night after having spent hours preparing meals in advance. If you just say Jewish women are tired Friday night from all the food preparations for the Sabbath and let it go with that, the audience is going to go, well, okay, so they don't have to get takeout. I mean, I don't know, eat peanut butter sandwiches. What's the big deal? Don't forget, you're assuming that the person understands your culture. But when you say that a code, according to the Code of Jewish Law, that there's a law that Sabbath food must include 3 meals. Okay, so now we understand why is she tired. She's tired because according to the law of her culture, she must prepare all this food for the Sabbath. The main body paragraphs, you may pause and just read this to yourself. And this is from Purdue. It just gives you a little bit of synopsis of everything that we've talked about, and for any further information, just refer to their site. It's there on the bottom of the page, and that can give you some more information. We're up to the conclusion. I know you're saying, finally. Restate your topic and why it is important. Restate your thesis claim in different words. Don't use the exact words that you have in your introduction. Just try to restate it a little differently. Address opposing viewpoints and explain why readers should align with your position. But we're not, that's in general about conclusions, but again, we're staying objective in this point and we're just informing. Call for action or overview future research possibilities, and this is again, according to Purdue, about conclusions in general. In this case, our conclusion is just a synopsis of what you've done in this informative essay. I think that this information that Purdue is giving you is conclusions in general, but you'll have to format differently for each type of assignment that you have. But in this case, in terms of just being an informative, just keep it clean. And keep it focused and just kind of sum it up, and then that you're just saying okay and moving on, giving something a little bit for the audience to think about, and that's enough. Transition smoothly into the conclusion. Suggestion: write the words "in conclusion" at the beginning of the concluding paragraph, and then delete the words "in conclusion" before handing in the paper. Saying "in conclusion" always helps you as the writer, but it doesn't help the audience, so get rid of it. Write an effective conclusion. The weakest way to conclude is to summarize what you have written. Think of something interesting for your reader to take away, a thought-provoking example, an unexpected implication. In terms of the informative essay, you can bring in another story, and that would be fine. Example: incorrect. In conclusion, we have seen how peer-to-peer file sharing works. Correct. The peer-to-peer file sharing process is relatively simple. Unfortunately, in many cases, it is also illegal. It is ironic that a technology intended to help people has resulted in turning many of them into de facto criminals. Formatting the assignment. Your name, course name, and the assignment name must appear at the top of every page. That's what has to be. Please make sure that you have that done. The page number must appear at the bottom of every page. The assignment title, name of the assignment, not the assignment number. Stop, pause me, and read this over, and just make sure that you do it. Otherwise, points will be taken off. Sources. Cite the sources for your information at the end of the essay. Remember, you are required to cite at least one outside source. Citing the sources should be on a new page when you're done. This is very clear here. You can just pause. I'm only here telling you about it because I want to make sure that you're really reading these next few pages to yourself and just following the directions. They're very simple. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to let you read the rest of the information that we have for you. And this is the end of the informative essay, and I'll see you on the next one.